All right, hey, welcome everyone. Thanks again for coming by on another fun, enjoyable oil painting. We're going to do this beautiful landscape scene with some houses, gorgeous sunrise type just before the dawn. Everything is starting to get light. We're going to see a beautiful, like really nice, like teal looking sky with some light sort of in the distance at the horizon line where the roofs and the trees meet the sky. We're going to have some beautiful mixtures of paints. I have all the paints. I'm going to show you all the colors we're going to use for this painting. I'm going to have a wax paper palette next to the painting on the left-hand side over here. So you'll see all the colors being mixed the whole time. So you'll see all the information you need to put this together and have a wonderful time of it. And it just brings, some really good feelings of that early morning time, and the lights are coming on and people are getting their day started. And it's out in the countryside, some farmhouses here, a beautiful road leading into the scene. So you can kind of have a real enjoyable time with this, and I think it's a very relaxing painting to do. And again, it's kind of a more, I would call it a user-friendly oil painting for me, and for maybe some of you that are, maybe a couple years or so into oil painting, so we can kind of take a little bit of pressure off ourselves by not having to do as much detail work. Because when it's, kind of a night scene or an early morning scene like this, there's not a ton of details. So you can kind of just see that the real details are the house and the chimney and a little smoke and a light. We do that in the very end of the painting too, so you don't have to worry. By the time we're putting in the house and the lights on the house and the chimney and a few of these really fine details, that's at the very, very end of the painting, actually. In the beginning of the painting, we're going to show you the glazing technique, how you get everything on the sky first, and then we get all of our trees in, some beautiful greens and things, and some real nice color mixtures. And again, everything's covered. All the colors are going to be put onto the wax paper, so you can see how I'm mixing all my colors. And we're going to have a great time. All right, so let's get started. All right, well, we just saw the finished painting. Welcome, everybody. We're going to have a great time here. We're going to actually cover the colors we're going to use first before we get into the sketch and the painting, just so we kind of have an idea. I wanted to set up my palette prior to starting the video, so we don't have to take too much time setting everything up. But pretty much I just went from red over to the cooler colors, and I started here. So this was these are Artisan by Winsor & Newton. These are water mixable oil paints, so you don't have to worry about any kind of solvents, terpenoids or anything like that. You can just basically use water to thin it down as you need to. Basically, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I mostly just mix the paints on the palette here on my wax paper sheets. And then if I need to thin it down a little bit, I just add a little bit of damp brush or a little bit of water to it to thin it down. Maybe in the beginning we usually use the thinner first, primer coat on our board here. You'll see that we'll do that in just a second. But again, I just wanted to mention the colors. This is the alizarin crimson here. Then next we went up to cadmium red. Then we went to yellow ochre. And the next was cadmium, this is lemon yellow. Burnt umber. Of course, titanium white. And then we came down with French ultramarine blue over here to cerulean blue, and then phthalo green. So you can kind of see all the colors right here. I think this is the full set of colors that you can buy. I have all the links to all my supplies that I use below, just in case you're looking to shop. Especially welcome if it's your first time here and you're just starting out and you want to make a start with some oil painting and have a great time. You just check below. You'll see all my supplies. It's from Amazon, so you just click onto Amazon and you go there and you can shop around on there, and you can find other comparable art supplies too if you want to. But it's a good starting point anyway. And I do test out all my supplies before I purchase them on an ongoing basis, so anything I'm using, I'm pretty much very happy with it. It works really well, performs really well, and I'm sticking with it. So the stuff that I put down below is things that I'm using that I really can tell you it's going to work and perform well for you. But as we all know as artists, we're going to sometimes do some different things, try different supplies out. That's all good. In any case, so we'll keep going here. So that's our colors. They come in these tubes and they come in a set. And I'll set them over here on the side in case we need more as we paint. And I usually buy an extra large tube of the white. These are really super large tubes of titanium white, because we go through white quite a bit, quite often. And so, depends on the painting though. This one we're not going to use as much white. It's kind of more of a lower key, darker type of painting. We're going to do kind of like a early morning scene. And you saw the finished painting again, so that's a positive. And then what I'll do is I'll take a pencil first just to get a sketch of what we're sort of looking to do. So we're just going to have our canvas like this. And then we're just going to keep it a real simple type thing, maybe about a quarter of the way over or about a third of the way over. We'll come in with the about halfway here. I'm just going to make a couple notes on the paper. So halfway here is about where the bottom of the house is, resting upon the land here. So we have our road coming in like this, and it goes around like this, and then we have some hedges and stuff and bushes that come across here. And then there's another small house over here. Okay, so we have a small house over here, kind of like a farmhouse, and then another farmhouse here. Now this one here, we're going to have it situated about here. And we're just going to make a simple gable roof like this. And then another gable roof coming over here, like that. And that's basically the simplicity of it. We're going to sketch this type of design out like this. And there's plenty of trees here. Densely wooded area in the countryside. And then this will be a field, so we're going to have some bushes and things like that. And this is a road coming in, of course. Okay, and then some more. It's going to be all shrubs and trees and grasses and things like that. So that's basically our design that we'll have. So it'll kind of be like nice. The road kind of takes you into the picture. And you have one farmhouse over here. And then as the road goes around here, we have one more farmhouse here, more kind of secluded back here. Kind of covered by trees and things like this. And that's it. All right, so we're going to keep it simple. And again, the colors are really going to key in on some beautiful colors on this painting. So I'll take this and I'll just set it up here. Maybe I can trim it down a little bit so that we can kind of see it as we're working. Hopefully this will fit into the picture. Let's take a look and see. If I trim this down a little bit. Okay, that'll work. Yeah, we can use that. That'll be good. And we can move around as we need to. We can use charcoal or lead pencil. I might use charcoal. Let me see if I have some charcoal. All right, what I'm going to do is take a quick break. I'm going to go find my charcoal. I thought I had some right over here by my table, my art table in my studio, but I think I have to do a little search around here amongst all the supplies and other stuff going on. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, so I found my charcoal, but I think the first thing we'll do is let's prime the canvas. I think that'll be the best thing to do first with some yellow ochre. And let me take my brush here. I usually keep paper towels in my hand, and I can dry off my brush when I rinse it with water, so that we keep a good control of how much water we're going to use. We really don't use, I would say, that much water when we're painting. We will thin down this yellow ochre though with some water. And we'll add a little touch of red to it. And then what I'll do is I'll set this aside, and I'll take my, I just have a small rag here, white rag. And I take that and I'm just going to take our red and yellow, maybe a little bit of brown too, yellow ochre, and let's just get a prime. You can add some water to it. I think I'm going to add some water to my first prime coat. Thin it down a little bit. Get it to the what you're looking to want to have on your underpainting, but I think this is fine. You know, we're adding a little bit of red to it, a little bit of brown, kind of make it a medium. And then again, I dip this in my water container. I keep my water container over here on the right. I dip that in some water, and this way you can get better coverage with it, and it goes into all of the fibers of the canvas. We'd like to have that first prime coat, you know, really covering it really well. And I'll do the same thing. More yellow ochre, red. And if you're just sticking with those three colors in kind of even amounts, maybe a little more toward the yellow, just more yellow ochre than anything else, that'll be really what we're looking for this painting on the underpainting. It gives it a nice glow, the paint, when we're doing our finished paint over top. Hopefully we're going to be able to let some of this underpainting kind of glow underneath and give us that good feeling of warmth underneath. Early morning with the cool sky. Maybe this is summertime. Okay, that's pretty good. And then at this point you could let it dry for a couple hours or so if you wanted to, or you can work with it when it's a little damp like this. Actually, it will be kind of nice working on it just like this because it'll mix a little bit. The underpainting, the underpainting will mix a little bit with our paints to a good advantage. So I rinse off my brush here. And I think what we'll do is we will take our time now to mix our colors that we want. So what I will do is I will start to mix. I think I'm going to go with the sky first. So I'm going to take some French ultramarine blue and cerulean blue and some phthalo green. I'm going to make it sort of that early morning sky sunrise just before dawn, and maybe a little bit of burnt umber. So it's going to be kind of a darker sky. So what you could do is you sort of start taking your colors and getting them mixed onto your wax paper, your palette. And then when you feel like you have a good mix, maybe a little bit of red in there. So I will take a little bit of that cadmium red and just get some of that there too. And then we just start putting it on up here, a little bit darker at the top. And then when you kind of look at it on the canvas, you just look at it and say, yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks like a nighttime sky right before dawn, where it's kind of dark up there. You know, if you need to make it a little lighter, you could add a little bit of white. Very sparingly, though. I would add the white extremely sparingly. And now that you have that first bit of dark in there, you could put a little bit of that white over the top. And that would just kind of help you to lighten it up a little bit. So I'm just adjusting the lightness and darkness of that early dawn morning sky by adding just a touch of white. And we'll add more white as we go toward the bottom of the sky where it meets the ground. That'll be our game plan, hopefully. And I don't mind scrubbing it in here. These brushes are tough. They can handle it. These are good brushes. Princeton brushes. Okay, so you can kind of see some of that glow underneath. Have fun with it, enjoy the colors, you know, take your time. Again, if you don't see something that looks good when you put it on your canvas, you can always just, you know, adjust a little bit on your palette paper. So far so good. I have I'll take a little bit of this greenish mix and just put it back up in the top here a little bit, just so that it's, I kind of want to have the idea of mixing sort of all the same colors as we go, and not adding too much of one color in one location, but kind of just making sure it's all blending together nicely. And then I will start to add a little more white here, like this. Okay, and that's starting to look good. A little more white. Add white very sparingly. Okay, and then as we add our white, and what we're looking for is to go about halfway down the canvas, or a little bit past halfway with our sky, and thinly too. We don't want to add too much of a thick paint. We want to keep this really thin, this first glazing. We kind of saw our sketch, so when you have your sketch, you put it in front of you, like so. And you kind of just leave it there and you say, okay, yeah, I got to go about halfway down with the sky, and you can even go a little further. So I'll put that over there. A little bit of yellow with the white. So now we just, again, it's starting to, the sun is rising in the background, behind in the back, but you know, so we're just seeing a little bit of light starting to kind of make its way up into the darker part of the sky. So that's why I just add that little bit of yellow color, that little bit of gold color. That gives us that feeling that the light is starting to, the sun is starting to rise behind the clouds. And again, you can leave it, again, a little bit past halfway with your sky, and again, we made it lighter as we were going down toward the bottom here. And as long as you keep it nice and thin, especially where you're going to be placing all the trees in the houses, like here your paint could be a little thicker, you know, but right when you start getting through here where the houses and the trees are going to be, you just want to remember, start off as thin as possible with your first few glazings as you're working your oil painting. And then as you go and you're building up more layers, you're going to have to go a little thicker, you know, with your paint, usually, to get it to cover over what your under painting is. But I think we are pretty good. I think we can kind of see. We have the desired effect of a darker sky up top, and it gets lighter as it's coming down. If you feel you've gone too light, that's not a problem. You can add more blue, cerulean blue, phthalo green, and a little bit of burnt umber, and maybe a little bit of red too, just to get some of that red. And you can darken it up a little bit if you want. You can get a little bit of that grayish kind of mix. And then you can give it some more right, I think that looks good. Trial and error, of course. Always works. If we're lucky. Okay, now I will take another quick break. The reason I say that is my concentration level. I think I concentrate better if I can take breaks every 15, 20 minutes. And then also, too, what happens is a lot of times, does this make sense? Sometimes if you walk away from your painting for about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 15, you know, you come back and you stand in front of your painting, and as you're walking up to it and you're far away from it, maybe 6 or 5 or 4, 3 feet, as you're coming closer to it, you start to notice things. You might stop a little bit away from your painting, about 3 or 4 feet away, and look and go, oh, I didn't see that when I was close up on my painting right in front of right here, working on it. But when I step back a couple feet back here, yeah, I noticed a few things that look like I could adjust something a little bit, maybe the color a little bit, or maybe something that I drew needed to be touched up a little bit that I didn't see, like a funny looking angle or something. So always remember, you can always too take a look at your painting from a little bit farther away when you're working. Every once in a while, like you always see a lot of artists that are out there, on video and on YouTube and things, and when they're painting, you see them often. They step back from their paintings every once in a while just to take a look. You get a different perspective of what the painting is, looking like from a little bit of a 5 or 6 feet back. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll start working on the trees and the house and the road, and we're already doing really well. We're like halfway there now. So this is going to look really good. I think you're really going to enjoy the finished painting when you're completed. And again, take your time when you're mixing your paints, because that's kind of like really the important part, is getting the color mixes pretty close. And I think I have the camera and the lighting really good here, so you can kind of see how I'm mixing my paints pretty much, and what kind of consistency it is. I'm not using tons of thick paint. Obviously, I'm going with thin glazes of oil paint, water mixable oil paint. And, we haven't really added any water. We've gone with just basically straight paint and a damp brush, from just rinsing it off and drying a little bit of it off on a paper towel in our hand. And we keep it just really thin, using mostly just the paint, not much water to thin it. I don't think we need to. And then, again, we'll get back rolling again in a few minutes. Okay, so we're just coming back from our break, and I just noticed I'm going to actually sketch in a little bit of the drawing here. So I'm going to look at it like so. And just notice that about up here. And I already noticed that the charcoal really needs to go on the white of the canvas. So in essence, now we're just going to I'll take a brush and maybe I'll get a dark blue here with some burnt umber, and maybe I'll just get a little bit of some darker paint just to kind of come down here and sketch out what we're going to do with our... Okay, so we're going to have our house here. And we have some more trees coming up like this. Then it's really important that I come over here and sort of get this house here that's about halfway across like this. So this is kind of about halfway there. So yeah, we want our house to rest upon about the halfway point. And I'll just get the basic shape of it in. I'll get some more of that dark, just so I can kind of see what we're going to do here. Like that. And then once over here like so, and another here. So I'm basically drawing three shapes right now: a square, a rectangle, and a triangle, like that. And then another, sort of like another rectangle here for the roof over here, with a triangle on it. Triangle here, and then another rectangle there. So you can just look at these as just basic shapes to get that house to look like so. And then we have the trees coming up over here, sort of leading our eye down like this, the trees. And we're going to have some trees over the top here. And then the tree line is pretty high up over here. Like that. Alright, so that's pretty good. Then let's do one more thing. Let's get the road in. So the road kind of starts over here. We can't see it, and then it comes around like this. And it comes over here like so. So that's that line there. Have fun with the shapes of things. Don't worry too much. This one comes like this and goes straight, and then we have the weeds and things like this. So that's pretty much it. That's a simple, just a quick sketch with our brush with some paint to get down what we need to see on this here. And we'll have all the branches and fields over here and tree. We'll block in it. It's going to be very dark though. This is like an early morning scene, so you're not really going to see a lot of detail. That's the one fun thing about painting when you're doing like evening scenes or early morning scenes where the light is kind of dim and just, the conditions are low light conditions. You can really have fun and just really, get in there and do a lot of good blocking in of large spots, and you're not really too concerned about a lot of detail because you really don't see that much detail when you're painting a night scene or an early morning scene like we're doing here. I'll go back to a larger brush. I'll rinse off my round brush now that we were using to sketch in our drawing, roughed in drawing, and then we'll take our paint and just empty it, and we'll put some more fresh clean water in our water container. It's good to change out your water occasionally. Okay, so now we'll go back to our brush here. This is a number 10 Princeton bright brush. Aspen is the like Aspen, Colorado is the line of brush. I think I have my brush set down below in the comments section too. All right, so now we're just going to take our paints and start mixing up some really good color before we go in and start painting. We'll want to mix up our colors and get everything looking really good. So we're going to make kind of like an olivey green with some orange. So I'm going to take yellow ochre. Here we might need to, I put some more paint on my palette. I squeezed out a little more blue. So yellow ochre and cerulean blue and a little bit of the phthalo green might give us a good kind of olivey, dark olivey color with some brown, because it is dark. It's dark out, so we're not going to have and then we'll take some blue down here, and we'll also mix in some red with these colors. We want to have some red mixing in. Again, phthalo green. A little bit of yellow. I put some. There's some lemon yellow here. Lemon yellow. So we can just mix right up into here, and there's also this yellow here too. So we can get quite a bit of a nice mixtures of green. So you can just take your green and just like mix it all on out like this, and then it's darker down here for the darker sections of green that we're going to create. And again, you can put some of that red mixed in there, and that should be good. And let's just start getting it. So we're going to get our trees in here, and I'm just going to do this quick and fun like this here. I'll try to do these trees first that are, maybe we'll have one of these trees over here is a little bit kind of more sparse like that. Maybe not as bushy, but maybe more. And we'll add some other bits of dark to that maybe to kind of make it stand out a little bit. But again, we're kind of getting that nice, and I will use some more of that phthalo green. Okay, we're painting around the house right now. I'll make sure to try to make a good conscious effort to paint around the structure of the house. There's some trees and bushes in front of it. I'll put a little bit of that in, but we're going to make the house white. And you saw the finished painting in the beginning, so you're not really going to be too surprised with what we're doing here. Okay, and then I'm going to block in these darks here. The greens by the road, like that. A little bit darker here. So remember, we're early morning light. You're not going to see a lot of details. You're going to see a lot of darks with the bushes and the trees. And we'll make it even darker. I'll take some more of that French ultramarine blue. Let's make a nice dark blue here for in front, like this. And I just put it onto the canvas. I'm not worrying too much. I'm going to block this all in with dark. And we always remember that when we're painting, you know, we have a focal point. We have a few focal points here. The main focal point is this house here, and then this other house over here, these farmhouses that are along this beautiful country scene. So you can kind of just think of it as, yeah, we have to paint the rest of the painting, obviously, but our main attention and the people that are going to view our paintings are going to want to look at those focal points, and that's going to be like their place their eye goes to and their attention goes to, and that will be really good to keep that idea in your mind so that you're not focusing too much efforts into the outer portions of your painting. The sky is pretty much self-explanatory. We got that in there, and you know, that kind of just handles itself. But we are like almost complete now, so we got all the main ingredients going for us. The only thing we have left now is maybe some lighter. I'm going to take a touch of that white. Remember, sparingly, please. Remember, when you add some white in there to lighten something up, we're going to lighten up the color of the road. The road's going to be a little bit lighter. So please add just a little bit of white at a time until you kind of see where it looks good. You also put it onto the painting next to your other colors and you say, ah, yeah, that looks good. That's going to be good. That looks like some light is kind of catching the road. It's probably a stone road. Over here, this might be a road on the farm, so it's not maybe like a paved road. It could be a road that's the farmers use for their equipment and getting around and doing all their tasks that they do. And we're going to just keep that in mind. Again, that low light situation. You can blend those edges. We'll do a little bit more details to the edges where the road and the shrubs and weeds and all the grasses and things meet up. But I think we're... And we remember we save a little bit of paint when we're done and we can peel off our tape. I have tape holding the canvas in place, and then once I'm done with the painting, once we're done with our painting, we lift off the tape and we save a little bit of paint. We make sure we have some paint left just to paint over those little areas. A lot of times you can just blend what's on the canvas right in. But it is good to remember to maybe save a little bit of paint on the side of the colors that we were using. Usually the frame covers that anyway. Okay, so now I will do another quick break so I can step back, kind of look, and see what is going to be next. But I think it's looking pretty good. I'm going to add a little more white here. Just a little more white. I might get that roof started here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably shift to a smaller brush maybe. Well, this might work. Yeah, that works. That's good. I can do that. And then this one over here too. So we're doing the two roofs of the houses over here. Get some paint. Paint's got to be a little thicker now because it's, as you notice, when you're painting your oils, once you get your first light, very thin paint application onto your canvas, you'll notice that if you go to paint over that, unless you let it dry for a few days or so, or a couple of days, or 1 or 2 days, if you want to keep working and just keep working on your painting, then you just have to notice you'll have to add a little more extra paint to to be able to apply it on top of that thinner coat. So it's the old idea, thin to thick. Starting off thin, and then your paint application gets thicker as you go. All right, so I'm going to take one more quick break, I think. Maybe 2 more. I think we might have a few more, maybe another 20 minutes I think we should be completed, but we have the majority of the painting done. And we're just going to see how we can now really amp up the excitement of the painting by painting in the houses, maybe a little bit of some windows in there with some light. And then we'll be really, I think, satisfied with this. Okay, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back. All right, so let's get back a little bit more with some details. I'm going to use a smaller square brush now, flat brush. This is a number 2, Princeton Aspen series, number 2. I just want to put in a little bit of a darker blend of paint in the roofs, just a little bit darker. And I'm going to blend it into that color that we put on, so it just makes it a little bit darker. I think I had it a little too light there for the roofs. Okay, and once we get the white paint of the houses on, our eye will pick up the shape of the roof. Even though it kind of blends in with the trees a little bit, you'll see it does work out well if we just be careful to get those really good, the color, the dark and lights of everything. So I'll take some more of that white paint and mix it up here. And I think if we mix that white paint there, up here like this, and then again we'll try out a little bit of maybe some, yeah, that looks pretty good. See, it's low light. It's not much light right now, so we're not going to, even though the house is white, it's not going to show up as like really a bright white. These houses are going to show up looking almost like a beige or a tan color, a sand color, because of the low light situation. And then we'll make sure and the houses are kind of hidden a little bit by the trees and things, so we'll remember that as we go here. Maybe there's a little bit of light on the tops of the roofs here, a little bit maybe. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, so we're coming along really nicely here. I think we will have a little more bit of some light like this on the road in front of the house. Maybe a little bit of that same color we made the structure of the house. We just want to add a little bit of that to the to some of the trees around so there's a little bit of light bouncing off the house onto the road and some of the trees here too. So if we just add a little bit of that, that's really going to look good. Okay, and this is somewhat impressionistic, this painting. We're not getting into incredible details or anything. And again, maybe we'll take some more of the dark greens and go back in and put the house, you know, kind of have the house back a little bit more here. And then if you say, oh, the house looks good, but I want to keep that light, I want to keep the shape of the house in the front a little more, and we just go back in and do a quick add that back in, because I think it looks better like that. And then I think we're going to, let's see, we're going to take a round brush now, and I think I need, let's see, we're going to have to mix, maybe I have to find another bit of, I'll have to get one of my tubes of paint in a second. Maybe that's like a yellow ochre, I think. So what I'll do is I'll just make a little bit of that yellow, like that. And I'll take that, a little bit of this here. So I'm making like an orangey kind of glow, but not too overpowering, so we'll use that cadmium yellow, and we'll pick up some white, straight white, and kind of mix that in and see if we can get kind of an orangey glow. Let's see if this works. Okay. Then I'll take this, that like whitish color, the white, titanium white with a little bit of the cadmium yellow. Dry off a little bit on the tissue. We don't want too much paint on the tip of the brush, because we're just going to do a very, very fine, small dab of paint where the windows are on the houses. A few windows, just a few. And we don't want to have a ton of paint on the brush. Could cause like a big, you know, bit of paint to get onto the canvas. We want to kind of be careful. So I'm going to do, I can also use a roll of tape and just rest my hand on the roll of tape like this, maybe just so I can be more careful with my brush stroke here. I don't want to put too much on, that's the whole thing. And it might have to be a thick bit of paint. That's where I'm going to need to add a thicker bit of paint here. Perfect, and one more. Maybe one more over here. Like that. Okay, good. And then we'll do one more over on the other house on the left side. And again, I'll take my roll of paint, roll of tape here, pick up some more paint. I need a good healthy bit of paint, and I just got to be really careful just to touch a dab of it on there. But if I try to go too thin, you saw what happened, right? I tried to go too thin with the paint, and it wouldn't stick because it's already, we have those two glazings over on the canvas right now. The under glazing and then the second one for the house, and now we're trying to get the light on there. That means you have to go with a lot of paint for it to kind of stick onto the canvas well. And so that means you have to really, I'm using a roll of tape and just resting my hand on it, so I'm not going to take a chance of like making a, you know, a big blob of paint on there for the windows. It's just got to be a little tiny bit of light there. So I'll do the same thing over here. Good, perfect. Now I can dry off my brush a little bit and maybe take a little bit of that. Alright, I'm not going to push my luck on this. I'm going to leave it like that is, like it is. I might take a tiny bit like this, just a little, very slight amount of it, thin it out on my brush, and maybe just add a little bit, maybe on a few spots in the trees over here, maybe. Just a little bit though. Maybe there's some here on the road. There's maybe a little spot of light here. Like that, maybe a little bit. Again, I'll mix it down a little bit thin, super thin, and just see if I can get a little bit of that light bouncing around, possibly just a little bit like that. And that should be good. All right, I think we have a completed painting, other than maybe we'll use a fan brush. So I have a fan brush here like this, and it's pretty much, it's damp, but I dried it off with a paper towel. So I took my fan brush, rinsed it off in the water. I'll empty out my water bucket one more time and pour a little bit of fresh, clean water, but I don't think we'll need much water for this. We're actually going thicker now with our paint, but I'll just put some fresh water in there anyway. And again, I did use the fan brush, rinsed it off with clean water, and then dried it like this so that the brush hairs are dry. And then what we can do is just get a little bit of some foliage. We could use some lighter foliage, I think, over here. So I'll take some of that light mixture we made, and maybe we make a little bit of, just up here a little bit in the, over here, just a couple bits of lighter. Then back into the darks. I'll take the burnt umber, blue, green, the phthalo green. So now we can just make up a really good thick, I'll put a little bit of the red in there too. A little bit of the orange. And again, as long as you're mixing mostly the dark colors, you could add the other colors we've used into that dark mix, just to give it a bit of a tie-in, or and now I'll just try to do a couple. I hope these will just kind of show through a little bit. The thick bit of branches and some things like that, just to kind of give it a little bit of some texture. So some texture, like it feels like there's some trees here. Some red and orange. A little bit of the warmth, some warm and cool everywhere. If you can always remember that, warm and cool everywhere in your painting is really going to help things out. I know when I first started painting, I tried to think of it as, oh, I need to add a yellow here, a blue there, and then after a while I realized I have to start mixing everything, and that's why I sort of mix everything a little more. This is some more yellow ochre. I think I needed a little more yellow ochre there, so there's some yellow ochre and a little bit of cadmium red. Cadmium red too. So cadmium red and yellow ochre. We're going to try to mix that in with our just to give it a little bit of that warmth. Okay, and then we can even do a little bit of the, on the road here, a little bit of the red going across like this. Rinse off our brush. Then I dry off my brush on a paper towel. Maybe we take a little bit of the light, add that into that color we just created, like that. Now make another, just a little bit of, maybe a couple of stones here in the foreground, so we give a little bit of texture maybe in the foreground here. A couple of stones and things. Who knows what we'll see on the road here? Some stones, a couple of rocks, some pebbles, a little bit of wood, pieces of wood or something like that. We're at the farmlands here, so, and I think that should be good. why not just go a little bit extra and do maybe something interesting? Let's go with, I'm going to take the brown and blue, this really dark here, the blue, this phthalo green, make a nice really good dark burnt umber. I'll make a chimney or two. I think I'm going to make a chimney back here. Actually, we'll make one here. This is kind of our focal point here. Our main focal point is this house, this farmhouse here. So I'll put a chimney there, and then we'll just get some of that white, like this, which is kind of a grayish white now because we have all the browns and blues in there. Kind of just a really nice, simple bit of grayish white. Dry off some of that on a paper towel so that there's not too much on there. And again, I have room over here. I can rest my hand on the side of the painting. And maybe we'll just put a little bit of some smoke here. Like that. Okay, so that adds a little more interest to it. More blue. I think we need some French ultramarine blue just to make a little more of that green. French ultramarine blue. And I think we have some gold here, some yellow. Mix it in with this. Burnt umber. So just want to make and then some phthalo green. Just want to get a little bit of some darks around this here. And if it's too much of a blue, you can just add some more of that brown. So, and I'll just make this bit of some trees over here. Now this is far away in the distance, so I wouldn't get too much detail here. Just wanted to add a little bit of more of a dark over here. And I think that's good. And like that. And again, a few more, a couple spots maybe. Just have a couple things. Alright, perfect. And then we could just sign our painting. I have to go back in and get several. Paint has to be thick now. So I have to keep going back. Okay, so we sign our painting once we're pretty much feel it's 100% complete, and I think this is the way we want it. We wanted that really dark, early morning feel, subdued, a little bit of light, kind of just getting our interest as we see the lights in the house, and a little bit of smoke from the chimney. I think this is just perfect. It gives us a good feeling of a light, early morning light. Hope you had a great time here, and always remember, please subscribe so you don't lose track of us. I know some of you maybe stopped by for the first time, and if you just hit the subscribe button, that means next time we create a new painting, which is usually every 2 weeks, we're creating new oil paintings here on my channel, and you can just join along in a couple weeks. And if you see that you don't like some paintings that we're creating, no problem. You just wait. You'll get an alert another 2 weeks after that. You could see what we're doing. So stop in, check in with us here, see what we're doing, what we're working on. If you like it, please join along in and have some fun with us. It's all about the enjoyment, the joy of painting with oils, especially these water mixable oils. Are so much fun to work with because you really don't have to worry about if something gets on our clothes or our furniture or anything like that. Oil painting, if you're a pro artist, like a professional oil painter, or you're going to be a professional painter and you're going to really want to go for it and do it, well, then eventually down the road you might start picking up some real oil paints, because I think they handle a little bit better, and you probably have more of a selection of colors. But if you're just starting out your first couple of years and you're trying out oil painting, again, the water mixable oil paints by Winsor & Newton are fantastic. I've been using them for years now, a couple years or so, and please feel free, join along with us again, subscribe, thumbs up if you like this, leave comments too if you have any questions, anything like that. I'll always answer the questions in the comment section, and thank you for commenting. A lot of you have joined in and left some comments, and I'm happy to hear you, stopping in and saying thank you, and I really appreciate everyone that's coming by, and I really thank you for the kind comments that you leave on the comment section area. And so we'll see you on the next painting. Okay, bye bye.